I was just supposed to do stuff, and then the right people would notice, and then that would help.
Hmm.
And that didn't really work because there's always going to be opportunities to work hard, whether somebody sees it or not.
Super fancy for a super casual show, but we love it over here.
Got to get those production
Hello.
values.
Yes, yes. Welcome to episode 3, but it's on the same day as episode 2. We're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen and I didn't double book myself. Um, but today we're here with Skylar Green, who is a very outspoken member of the Eradicate Limited Mindset group. I see him comment on every post, and nearly every single one is it's too intellectual for me. I have to really read into them. But I love that you're always trying to put logic in things, and you're always making sense of things in ways that most people don't. I really admire that.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what your parents were like, kind of a little bit about your upbringing and childhood.
Sure. So I was kind of all over as a kid. Wasn't the usual, we were a military family going all around. My dad was in Vietnam, but that was way before I was born. So we started out in the Washington, D.C. area and moved kind of over to Fairfax and then further south from there. My parents were in like a corporate environment, especially my father. He was in financial services. So every time he was in one business, they got eaten up by another business, then we had to move because, of course, you just follow the money at that case. Starting out in the north, the first formative years, I actually did see snow before we moved down south, and then I never saw it again after about 9 years old. But it was nice to at least have some frame of reference for the Christmas songs.
Yes,
As far
yes.
as the upbringing, my parents were very involved in the beginning because I was their first child, and they wanted to make sure they did all the things right that you do in the baby books. And I did see that they had read a bunch of books about how to properly raise your child. So as far as them being there for all of the parent teacher conference stuff and parents nights, and we went probably on more trips as a family together when it was just me than after when my younger brothers came along, because I do have two younger brothers. But it was fine. I really don't have I can't say that there were any struggles or any hard knock life origin story at that point. I was well taken care of, even when I became more of a latchkey kid around fourth and fifth grade, when both my parents were working so many hours. Just I was probably at home just feeding myself and doing homework. And then when my younger brothers finally got to the point when they were in school, I was in middle school, heading into high school, and I was more involved in just being kind of the person around the house to get things done maybe after
Yeah.
everyone got out of school. So I had the good early involvement that kind of set me on the right track there. And then I kind of took over more heading into high school and college. So um, I am very privileged as a personal upbringing. I will not make any bones about that or said I had to
Yeah, but
fight.
it sounds like you took responsibility as a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know many. I mean, of course, I know a lot of people who do take care of their younger siblings, but not many of them do it willingly or do it happily or do it well, So it's always nice to hear about, older siblings actually taking that role when they have to. It's never ideal, but you got to do what you got to do, especially when it comes to family.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't a situation where they sat me down and said, "Okay, son, here's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to get
Yeah.
you to make dinner and do the homework." It was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, this is what we're doing now." And I was responsible enough that I just went along with it, and um, for the love languages book and thing, I'm more of an acts of service kind of person, and I always want to help in some way wherever I am or whoever I'm dealing with. So that was how I could help, and I don't begrudge my parents at all for the
Mm-hmm.
amount of time they spent away from the house, because it was a very nice house that we were living in, and I understood that they had to
Pay the
keep
bills.
it up. You know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, so did you go to college at all or no?
I did. I
Okay, for
went to
what?
Florida Atlantic University, and I majored in political science, which was more of me just realizing that I had taken so many courses all over the place. I needed to graduate with something, and political science ended up being what I had most credits in. But I
Okay,
have
okay.
I have minors in history, philosophy, and economics.
Wow, wow. How long were you in school for?
It
Just four
was
years
four,
or?
it was 4.5 years. The first year was under the state early admission program. So my first year of college was on the state's dime because I was still a high school student at that time. So I
Nice.
count the first year I was at college, but I was a high school
Mhm.
student for the first year.
That's actually what I did for my second or the second half of my senior year.
Hmm.
I went to maybe not as as admirable as yours, but I went to like just a community college and I started getting some of my electives done. And luckily, the college that I went to that following year, they took all of those credits right in, and I was able to
Hmm.
blow through a couple classes before I graduated.
See, I did it the other way around. With It wasn't my master plan, but it kind of worked out that way, where I got all the major courses and electives out of the way first, so that come my final year of college, it was like, oh yeah, I guess I have to take English 102 now. So
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's kind of weird.
You're over there trying to read a book that most people read when they were 18 or 19.
It ended up in this situation where I didn't really have to pay attention in class. I did, but I was at that point I was exposed to so many other things from all the different other classes I took, and I was actually attending the John D. MacArthur Honors College campus of FAU, so,
Okay.
which when that was the second year that it existed when I went there, and pretty much all the professors said, listen, we have no idea how this is going to work, but we're on an honors college, so we're basically going to work everything like it's a 400, 4,000 level course, which they did. They made you cut your teeth there. So there was so much extra stuff that I was exposed to that it was kind of like just a cakewalk by the time I was actually getting the core done in the final year, which was again me realizing, oh crap, I forgot to do this so I could graduate on time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's one way to do it, especially, I mean, in your case, maybe if you had an idea of what you wanted to do, maybe it'd be a little bit better. But uh,
At
yeah, some people are
my
fortunate about knowing what they want to do at a really, really young age. I don't think we should
mm,
be pushed to necessarily go to college and choose the rest of our life at 18 and 19 years old.
Which is interesting because I think the average person doesn't trust a young person to be knowledgeable enough to vote, but you're supposed to determine the rest of your life before you get out
Yeah,
of high school. Yeah.
yeah. A year ago, when you're first applying to colleges, you're like, a year ago I was asking if I could go to the bathroom and asking if I could walk in the hall. Like, what? And now I'm going to choose what I'm going to do for my life and choose where I'm going to go and put myself, however much in debt.
I learned early on that the best way to ask to go to the restroom is to kind of troll them and ask like you were Morgan Freeman and Shawshank Redemption, just like go to the bathroom, boss. Like, just go.
The best way to get through school was to make the teachers laugh by far. Some teachers, I should say.
No one really had their sense of humor turned to Nazgul, but uh, yeah, there was a time when you just let them talk.
Yeah, yeah. So I already know what you do for a living. Obviously, you're in the car business, car buying
Mhm.
business. But how did you find this career path, and how do you try to help people in your career?
So the first foray into the car business was in 2015, and I'm blanking on the hurricane that passed through South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina at that time. I want to say Matthew, but I don't know if that's correct. But
Unfortunately, there's so many.
yeah, I was on a hiatus from my previous experience was in food service. I was in food service for years, restaurant dining and catering for Airmark.
Here, you're breaking up. One
And
second.
I,
Could you start
sorry,
at food service? Sorry.
I was in food service. I had done some residential dining and catering and like a sit-down dine-in restaurant, a seafood restaurant that someone owned. Just been in that and run a few different things. And I had no culinary experience, but you go from working the back office and payroll, and then it's like someone doesn't show up. So what can you cook? Okay, do that. So it kind of
Yeah.
went from there. But I had kind of burned out from that working like open and closed for literally a few years. And I had a family that would like of my own that I was living in the house with. It probably would have been a strain for them. I was still young and alone at the time, so I'm still alone. I'm not single. I'm single, but not young anymore. So that's a separate thing. But I could imagine the stress it was. I think there was one time I had been at work probably for 16 hours, and I got home. It was dark, and my neighbor's cat was on my porch and kind of hissed at me when I was on the porch for a second, and I feel bad for Shadow because I actually cussed out a cat, and that was kind of when I
Well,
realized I
that
was just doing
happens
too many
after that long of a shift.
right. But
Somebody's
I
bound to
had,
get cussed out.
so I had gained weight from the stress, even though I wasn't eating a lot, and generally I just wasn't sleeping well. It wasn't good, so I had got out of that, and I was between positions at the time. The hurricane came through, and for a little bit I was just on kind of like some cleanup crews to make a little extra money. But I went on Indeed, and the BMW store in Columbia was hiring, and they put a notice out on Indeed saying, yeah, if you want to come and interview. And I thought, well, I mean, whatever, it's different, it's something else. I didn't want to go back into food service, but I wasn't quite sure what else was available because so much of my last few years had been specifically in food service. I didn't know what transferable skills they would see in me because you
Yeah.
have to get to the interview in order to impress anybody, you know.
Yeah.
But the sales manager was still is David Miles over at BMW Columbia, and very nice guy, easy to talk to. And he told me, I don't think you're a hotshot salesman, but I don't actually want one. We want someone we can train how to sell a luxury car and provide a concierge style of experience, and that's where my strengths lie. So he said, I think somebody will buy a car from you. So it just kind of went from there.
Well, nice. Somebody had faith in you, and it ended up working out for them.
Then,
Yeah, go ahead.
then from there, I just kind of stayed in car business. I liked it. I liked interacting with people, and to as far as trying to help people. Um, there's only so much you can help someone who doesn't want to be helped, of course, but there's the two aspects. There's me not really being a car guy. Like I as long as it's fine transportation, I'm okay. If you ask me the car that I probably like the most, I'm probably one of the few people who'd say Mini, and I lost some credit from a couple people by saying that. It was like, whatever, I just think they're neat cars.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I made it a point to know everything about what I was being asked to show somebody. And I thought that was just what everyone was supposed to do. But I got a lot of comments from customers that, any random question they would ask, that after probably about 3 months, because you still have to learn the product, I was able to answer. And it seemed like that wasn't a common thing. And I had not bought a car since maybe 10 or 11 years before. And I had my mother there helping me because I just got out of school and I needed the car to, drive to work.
Mm-hmm.
But because I guess I didn't have any bad habits, but all I was okay, I want, you're about to spend, 5, 10, 15, 30, $50,000 on this thing. So you should know whatever it is you want to know about this thing so that you can justify that expense in your mind. And I would, the thing I kept hearing from customers was that that was something that they were not getting, was the respect for their time and the expense that it would be to purchase anything, be it a cash car or be it a brand new, luxury SUV that you would, pay $70,000 for. Is how do I, as the consumer, get to the comfort level that this is the thing I want to buy, the person I want to buy from, the place I want to buy from, and that to help them see the value in whatever the price tag was.
Yeah, yeah. You're a relational sales guy.
Oh yeah, I can talk fast, but it just sounds like nervous, anxious energy for me. So I do try to slow it down. And I know if you can start slow and then speed up, but you can't be fast and then start slow, because then it's like, patronizing somebody.
Yeah, yeah. So throughout the years, has there been anything that you struggled with in the industry or just in life in general? You said you had a pretty easygoing childhood. You took responsibility a lot, but didn't struggle with much then. What about in your college years or at the start of the business?
I was so much of a go with the flow person that for a while, like if you would ask me that in my 20s, I really would have no idea how to answer that, right? But now with some benefit experience, I could answer professionally and personally. I suppose with professionally, it was understanding, and this is probably something where it helped me more in the car business than in my 9 to 5 or corporate or whatever sort of experience is professionally being able to actually speak to the things that I was able to accomplish. Not that I was worried I would be cocky about it, because I don't seem to give off that persona, but more that I wasn't really trained as a young person, whether it was as a child or whether it was starting out in my career after I got out of school, how to help the right people see the things I was doing. I was just supposed to do stuff, and then the right people would notice, and then that would help. And that didn't really work, because there's always going to be opportunities to work hard, whether somebody sees it or not. But if no one knows about it or really puts together how it actually helps the big picture, or specifically for whoever you're reporting to, how it helps their career, that you're just going to get more opportunities to work hard, but the opportunities for advancement won't necessarily follow. It's no one really taught me the lesson. I think where I actually learned it from was the Steve Carell iteration of Get Smart at the beginning of the movie, where he was doing his best trying to train in order to become an agent, because he was just an analyst. And as an analyst, he was really good at his job, but then his boss didn't promote him because, well, I need you there in the analyst position because you're so good there. I don't want to lose you. And he just had this moment of clarity. It's like, so I'm not getting promoted because I'm great at my job. Like, oh wait, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So being able to make the right people know what you're actually contributing was my biggest thing, because I don't talk about myself really. Like really, if you haven't been asking me these questions, and I know there was a question there you sent me ahead of time, I wouldn't have known what to say. You'd be like, hey, tell me about yourself. I don't know. I'm Skylar. Like, I do need to be prompted sometimes, because I'm more focused on the other person than on myself, which doesn't always help you. And I don't want to say this the wrong way, in a way that will get some people uncomfortable. But historically, one of the best compliments you could give for somebody who has a skin tone like me is that they were humble, which fine, you internalize that message, but then what does it really do for you? You have to be able to just be like, no, 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 I did this and this helped you. This was great for the business. I did that.
Yeah,
But
you have to tell people how you helped them sometimes. You can't always be humble. It's a good personality trait to have sometimes, but unfortunately being humble 24/7 allows a lot of people to walk over you and not appreciate you and not understand how you help them every day.
Professionally, I've also learned that there were times where if you work in the car business, or they say the managers will say don't work your manager, work your customer, and you have to kind of work whoever. I mean, obviously the customer, sometimes you're presenting something that is legitimately a help to them, where, okay, everything you said you wanted and needed, we were able to get for you. It's okay. You worked hard. You can do this. You're gonna be okay. We wouldn't sell you something you can't afford, which is sometimes a problem in the industry. They're not required to care. So if you find someone who does care, you should go with it, right? But on the other hand, there have been times I've had to like drag my manager kicking and screaming into a car deal because, well, maybe we're only making 2,000. Maybe we could hold out and make 3,000 off of somebody else. Maybe just go ahead and take the W here. Right.
Yeah.
So
See what you
there's
can
also
get.
that.
One
As it
second.
stands now.
My dog is barking at me. Let me just let him out real quick.
No, you're okay. I suppose I could keep talking for anyone who's listening to this, but I wanted to be fair and let Carly come back.
So sorry about that. He's a
You're
territorial
okay.
beast.
Personally, I've done so much in terms of just trying to work. And when I got out of school and started working, I actually left school a year early because at that point, what I was intending to do was go and get my master's. I was in school for a year toward that, and then just go into teaching because I didn't have anything else really going on. But I am also kind of like an educator personality type. Like I like explaining things to people. I like helping them to understand so that they can go forward and do whatever they want to do. At the time, teaching salaries weren't that great in Florida. Not that they're tremendously better now. Not that I knew about that when I was in school, but it was like, whatever. But in that aspect of what I was focused on, I didn't focus a lot on just what I wanted, right? It was all, okay, I'm trying to get to some career goal so that, my younger brothers are still in school. My mother's not working. At first, it was just a not working thing. Then she got a cancer diagnosis. And for a second, we were just dealing with that. Then our grandparents, or sorry, my grandparents, her parents had health problems. And so we needed to move from South Florida up to South Carolina, but she wasn't working. So like now I had to move my job so that we can move up there, because I'm not going to get into it, but I would not have wished anyone to move into the house with my grandparents because of how crazy it would make them. But so then there was that, and everything I had done of sorts was pretty much just working to maintain a household for my family, right? And it was only about 4 years ago, when all my younger brothers were out. They could live their own lives, and my mother had got to the point where her health was better. And it was kind of like I had been asked at a social gathering once, what are my passions? Not what do I do for a living? What are my passions? And I had no idea how to answer that question because it was so far removed from what I had been focused on. And I didn't like that I couldn't answer that question. So at that point I had made a goal to try to step back from, because I'm not a live to work person. A person that wants to be at work 24/7. It just for a while it just kind of ended up being that way by accident. But then I would just come home and sleep, and it's like, okay, then what else? And getting back to the idea of just, it's okay to go out and have no plans, but just go and meet people or just experience, a nice hike somewhere, that sort of stuff. So I am making more time to just be available and to try things that I kick myself and realizing I should have done earlier. And now who knows, probably what I've been more focused on or what hobbies I could have turned into a mastery of some sorts, that sort of thing. So it was a struggle to just center myself, not even just at work, which is an earlier lesson, but to center myself in my own life. A friend of mine, Jarvis, had said, it's okay to be the main character in your own story.
Yeah, it is. It's okay to take care of yourself, to make yourself a priority sometimes. Yeah. So your mom got better from the cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah.
We
How long
we
did that
caught
take?
hers early enough that she was able to do surgery and medication. My stepfather, he was notorious about not wanting to go to the hospital, so unfortunately, he passed from stage 4 prostate cancer. Just caught it too late to do anything.
Yeah.
So it was part of it was just focusing on his health, which was kind of at the same time as the grandparents. So it ended up this weird situation where I was working to keep a roof up so that my mother and then stepfather could come back from taking care of my grandparents. And I swear that all of the stress and drama that they had led to their health issues. So
Yeah, I
I,
mean, I believe that
you
that can definitely happen.
to
Just the
to a
stress
point,
of
I
life.
think that's what I'm not in a management position anymore, but at the highest point when I was in management, I was in charge of about 50 people, and I didn't want that to happen to them. So I was as upfront with people as possible about, listen, I don't want you to live here. I have unfortunately been trapped, but I don't want you to live here. I'll schedule you for as many hours as you need. Past that, go home. Um, I think it was when I was running Subway. A kid had been working with me for about 2 weeks. I forget his last name. His first name was Damon. And Kelly knew him from the neighborhood, and he had a kid. And I was like, and she told me this isn't one of those college game days. College football game day, it's going to be a bunch of people there. But I went up to Damon and said, okay, Kelly says your kid has a birthday. Like, oh yeah, my daughter. It's like, how old is your daughter? 3:00. It's like, go home. We'll figure something else out.
Yeah.
So you don't
There,
get too
yeah.
many of those birthdays, but especially the earlier ones, like when they're 17, fine, whatever. They can maybe just spend it with their friends or whatever. But when they're that young, you got to be there.
Oh yeah, and not many bosses are like that. There's a lot of good ones, don't get me wrong, but there's way more bosses that won't care whose birthday it is.
I've found by experience with a lot of different personality types, it's the person who's willing. I can't replace 5 people working on a shift, but one or two, yeah, I can jump in and do it. And maybe there's some other stuff I could have done with that time, like taking a dry inventory or working on payroll or something. But and I could sacrifice that time so that he could go and have a birthday with his daughter. So if someone thinks that they're above that, then they won't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, um, what tips do you have for people that kind of struggle with the same thing that you went through, which is almost overworking yourself, or not in the sense that you regret it, but having a lot of pressure and responsibility put on yourself, whether it's by choice or by force. How do you handle it? What tips do you have for getting through it, and for what, either taking more time for yourself, or how you use time management for the both?
I was trying to think about that, and the problem I have is maybe three things. The first thing is that I know that anything that I go through is not the worst thing that anybody could be going through. So that in itself is kind of a coping mechanism. It's just whatever. It's just life. I just have to deal with it.
Mhm.
Maybe not everyone can do that and just kind of whatever, but that helps me. Other part of that, if you really want to figure out how to balance things better, because I don't usually use the work-life balance phrasing because it's all part of the same life. I can't
Mhm.
turn my other part of my life off and then go to work. I'll still get
Yeah.
a call if something goes wrong. It's more a perspective that I have cultivated, that the only thing that I can do is whatever's in front of me. And for the time that work is in front of me, okay, I'm there. But the amount of extra time that I am at work, do I value that more than anything else? And if the answer is yes, then fine, stay at work. But if the answer is no, you're not really going to get the extra bounty points. I know that now from experience for being and sacrificing for somebody else. If you are on your own hustle and you want to take the extra time to have a side business or anything like that, absolutely do that sort of thing. But if it is, well, I gotta put in the time to impress this other person who's no, they're not gonna do it.
Mhm.
I know now that unless you're trying to be your boss's best friend, you're probably not going to be given a huge raise or a super promotion off of that. So do as much as you're contracted to do and then go home, or at least just sit out in the parking lot and listen to music if you need to decompress. And then whatever it is,
Yeah.
always have some kind of outlet for your energies, because whether it's productive energy, whether it's creative energy, whether it's blowing off steam by doing something, everyone expresses that differently. So I can't say that this is what you have to do specifically because that's what I did. More that you have to have some other outlet, and it could be to get rid of frustration and depression or something. And some people will work out for that. Some people will go into making their own art if that's what you do. I'm not good at that, so I don't do that. But if that's what you want to do, pick up an old hobby that you haven't done for a while, and you'll probably suck at it again for a month or two until you get back into it. My cousin Cameron used to draw a lot in high school, and then he just picked it back up and started a DeviantArt account. And so he was getting better at it. And then people were like, "Oh, hey, can I pay you to do this?" It's like, okay,
Mhm.
it wasn't the thing that he was expecting to do. It was just he knew that he needed that because he works at a plant, and so you're on for 12 hours a day for 4 days, sometimes 5 days if it's a rush. And then after that, what do? You have to get rid of the uh, get rid of the stress of work somehow. So you can do that, whatever it is. And if it's something to recharge you, that is also, don't skip on the recharging aspect. And whatever that is, for me, that's just kind of going out to a place that is putting off some kind of energy. Now, it could be people watching energy, or it could be the energy of going out to a stream somewhere and just absorbing nature, that sort of thing. You know,
Mhm.
that to rejuvenate you so that you can then go back to whatever else you're doing.
Yeah.
That was important for me.
Taking like mental breaks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to go
I'll
for
go
walks and stuff.
and take that break wherever, and don't feel awkward about it. I some Oh, it's my younger brother's birthday. He had a party and there was dancing, and I am not graceful enough to dance, but I was there. And I went to the corner for a second to just like rest my eyes and chill. Like I don't sit down. Like I was literally just standing up in the corner, just like with my head down like this for a second. But someone asked, "Was I okay?" It's like, "Oh yeah, there's just a lot of stimulation over there, so I'm just gonna take 5 minutes and then go back." Like there's no,
Mhm.
whatever it is you have to do, wherever it is you have to do it, do it.
Yeah, yeah. How do you go about identifying when you feel that you need to just take a break and walk away? Uh-oh.
Um,
There we go.
if it's a case where I'm in front of somebody and I have to help somebody else, I can do it. But if there's nothing going on, it's I'm gonna just take 10 minutes.
Yeah, one second, Skylar. You're
Out
all
because of
pixelated
the
right now.
quality of
One second. Can you hear me at all?
so yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, you were very choppy for about a minute there. I forgot what my question was too.
It's okay.
Do you mind repeating what you just said?
You're asking me I need to it's
Oh, and we lost him. Let's give him a second to come back on. How's everybody doing? Here we go. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Okay, sorry, we cut out for a minute. I have no idea how that looked online for everybody watching.
If it went perfectly every time, you almost wouldn't be big time. Like the most hugest shows out there. It's we have this, we have the internet problems, we have it. So
Mhm.
and you've done a double header today. So if this is the only thing that went wrong, then cool.
I'll take it. I'll take it. A little 5-second blackout is okay.
Mhm.
Do you mind repeating what you were talking about earlier before we all cut out?
No problem. So when you asked about how I know to just disconnect,
Yes.
it's just knowing yourself. It's I don't blow up. It's more kind of like just a quiet shutdown for me. So I know when I get there, I'm not introverted and I was never diagnosed on any sort of spectrum, but there might be a time I just have to say, you know what, I'm done for probably like 5-10 minutes, but uh I can defer it if I'm trying to help somebody is what I was saying. Is
Okay.
if there's a customer in front of me, then I can stop. But after that, if nothing else is going on, I will just move for a minute. But I've kind of gotten into a position where I am not um I'm not watched and I don't have to answer to anybody. Like I'll tell people what I'm doing, but I don't no one's my boss except for the GM, and he usually just lets me do my own thing. So it's not that hard to step away if I need to step away. Uh, it was earlier on in my working life and my career. Personal wise, you don't really answer to anyone that way. So
Mhm.
it wasn't hard to do, but definitely in the aspect of being around people, I I guess they're the people who just draw infinite amount of energy from being around other people. So this wouldn't resonate with them. And then there are the people who dread being around others, and so they may feel this way a lot more than I do. So they're like, yes, um, but that's that's not hard for me now. In the past, it was, but that was along with the whole knowing myself and knowing when I need to prioritize me over what else I can do for someone else, specifically trying to like find someone to save their day. It's like, you know what, they'll be okay. I know I'm not the worst thing that ever happened to anybody in the course of the day, but I'm also probably not saving the world for them. So because of that, it was a little bit easier to then say, you know what, I can take a little bit of time for myself just because everyone else gets to. So why shouldn't I?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Everybody deserves a little bit of self-care and self-love.
Actually, I
Time
suppose
to
I should.
decompress.
Mhm. I suppose for the people who might be like me, this is something that I also learned is that if you're normally the nice, calm, accommodating, pleasant person, that if you do need to just look somebody in the eye and stare at them very intensely and tell them that they should stop what they're doing right then, it probably resonates with them a little bit more than if you're yelling at them all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've
Sure.
gotten managers to back off, just be like, oh wow.
Yeah, just being straightforward, being stern, you know what I mean? But not losing it, not losing your cool or yeah, freaking out. I need to take that. I need to learn a little bit more of that. My dog starts barking and just kidding.
Just
um
try it on times where it doesn't fit anything and you can just laugh it right off. Like I my first practice of it was I was in line at like a Burger King and went up to the line. It was in a drive-through, and then they said what the price was after I ordered the food. That's fine. And then after I went around and said, okay, yeah, it's what, 783 or something. I just looked at him and said no. Like,
no.
they just had no idea how to respond to that. Like, no, it's fine. Like, saying no is definitely one of the harder things that I had to learn because I am someone who tries to help all the time and try to be a people pleaser. So the comical or the no that you can quickly, break the tension with that, just getting used to saying it in those low pressure situations, then being able to say it when it counts because I inoculated myself against it, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I learned that when I went to Florida, when I first came down here, I went to like a Walmart or I went to a Publix, which is like just like a grocery store. I don't know if you have that where you are.
We do. We don't have the Winn-Dixies, but we have Publix.
Yeah. So I went to a Publix and it was like right across the street from my house. And the way to get out of the parking lot, I parked so that I could just like pull out really, really easily and just drive my merry way. And as I was like putting my groceries away, I got into my car and I started my car, and somebody just like put their shopping cart like right in front of my car. And I was just like rolled down my window. And the only reason I did this was because I knew it was a person like I didn't know. I was like, I just moved down here. Nobody knows my face. Nobody knows where I live, what I do. You know what I mean? And I was like, can you not do that? Can you please put that away? And like, she was just shocked. And I just rolled up my window and she went on her way and I went on my way. But like, I was like shaking afterwards. I was like, that was the most confrontation I've had in years.
Yeah, definitely got to get more comfortable with it. And I don't know if I will ever have children, but if I do, that's something I would get them more comfortable with, is being able to tell other people, look, I don't like this. Being able to vocalize it, not just stamp their feet and say stop, but this isn't good. I don't like this. Please don't do that. Whether it's personal, whether it's professional, you have to be able to clearly explain and identify what the problem is in order to identify it for others. The first thing that I had to get past was the idea that it's okay for me to want or not want things, and to value my own voice. Like, this is probably the most talking I would ever do. You started in the explanation of the kind of explanations I give on Facebook, and my first instinct still is to just let the other person talk because everyone wants to be heard, right? Sorry, one moment.
You're okay.
Mm-hmm. No problem. I'll be there soon. Dinner time.
Soon over here too.
No problem.
Just before we wrap up here, can you share one of your favorite quotes if you have one? Just could be something super simple by, whoever made up, whatever. It could be a Disney quote. It could be Albert Einstein. It doesn't matter.
I'm still acts of service person, so the quote that I live by the most would be that Dalai Lama quote where he would say that our prime purpose is to help others, but if we can't do that, at least don't hurt anybody.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. Earlier today we were talking with the don't want to mess up her name, Oasa. She lives over in Sweden, and she was just talking about all you have to do is just show love, show compassion, don't hurt anybody. You don't have to be adamant and be everybody's best friend and have a 45-minute conversation with every stranger you meet, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't have to be mean to them or hate them. It's for sure.
Absolutely.
So
And
I think that's to live
I
by.
think that's something that gets lost in maybe social media culture and the idea of I have to like this or dislike this, or like face to face, we wouldn't immediately write the person off in front of us because of one single this thing that they said that we don't like.
Totally.
But if we're on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, yeah, well, they're dead to me now because of this little thing here. And we don't form a community and a society by doing that.
Hmm.
And maybe the other person in front of you has a completely different way of viewing the world or handling things, but understanding that we're all generally just trying to do our best and be good people, gets a long way toward understanding. I don't want to have attribution error where I understand where I'm coming from and I'm a good person, so therefore the things that I do are good, or at least can be understood in a way that would make me be good, as opposed to this other person, they're a stranger, I don't know them, and I'm not required to think the best of them. Well,
Hmm.
okay, but still they're probably not your supervillain nemesis, so just assume that they're also trying to be good and perceive themselves as good.
Yeah, and they're trying to work it out just like you are, and they face the same or probably similar, if not worse, struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to think that, you just don't know who the person driving next to you, what they're going through, where they're driving to, what they're driving from, what's going on in their head. So many people get road rage, and it's simply because somebody forgot to use a turn signal. And so now you hate them and you're going to tail them and you're going to wish that they crashed their car. It's like they just forgot
Yep.
to use a turn signal. They maybe
You,
didn't
you
see
might
you there. Maybe they were
you might
thinking
not
about how
be
they got
the
fired.
oh yeah. Well, and that's there's two parts to that. There's the aspect of you might be the bright shining spot in someone's day that was just horrible, and so they don't maybe have a renewed faith in humanity, but at least they can get through another little bit because somebody helped balance the scales one way or another.
Hmm.
um, the other thing is to at least just don't be a jerk, because if you do have someone who gets froggy, you might not be the only thing that they were mad at, but you're just the last thing that they were mad at, but they can take
Yeah.
all of that other stuff out on you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And I would never want to be the reason somebody had a bad day. Like
Mhm.
somebody like had a horrible day and goes home to their family and is like mean to them all night and doesn't talk at dinner and goes to bed at 7:30. Like you don't want to be that person in somebody's life where they look out for your car. They're like, is that the same person that cut me off 2 days ago and whatever?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it's not a good life to live to be hated, you know?
absolutely.
And it's really hard to hate a person that loves a lot. Like really, really hard. Like an accepting person, it's hard to hate them. Your ratio's better.
At least openly, because what you also gain from that is a lot of goodwill, where they could try to make your life more difficult, but if anybody sees what they're doing, it's like, why are you doing that to that person? Like,
Yes. Yeah, you more people are kind of on not to say that there's sides, but more people are on your side when you're a good
oh, I can
person.
definitely say there have been times where it's helped me that somebody tried to lie on me, except that it would go against character so much that it just wouldn't make sense.
That it's just unbelievable. Yeah, that people simply can't see it. Yeah. I
Mhm.
can't agree more. Be a good person when nobody's watching, but make sure you don't hide what you're doing.
Exactly.
Make sure people know that you're a good person and that you're a hard worker, and don't do it without letting the world know. It's a good thing. You have to be humble, but you do have to be confident.
Just
You
don't put it
have
on
to.
YouTube. Only Mr. Beast can do that.
Yes, very, very true. Not everything has to go on social media either, but some things do, I guess.
For calls to
Um,
action, definitely.
yes.
You know, I
Um,
think.
uh, Go ahead. Sorry.
Is there anything else? Because I am going to be fussed about if I don't head to
Of
dinner too.
course. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and give yourself a shout out, and if you want to, you can just comment it down below. Just where people
Mhm.
can find you, how they can reach you if they want to sell their car, or if they just want to find a new friend in the car industry.
Uh, I am on Facebook, Skylar.green. I think it's 564. You'll see a picture of my face. I'm like up close like this, so then you'll definitely see it's me.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
on professionally, I work at Jim Tidwell Ford. I'm the used car acquisition manager, whatever they want to call me. So yes, I can purchase your vehicle. I am not going to beat around the bush though. If you don't need another car, this is not the time to be trying to get one because prices are very high right now. And I wouldn't be trying to shop in this market if I didn't have to. But if you have a second car or something like that, or you want to downsize, this is a good time to sell because once the chip shortage is solved for new cars, all the used car values are going to plummet.
Yep, yep. Thanks for the advice. I might have to downsize. I don't go anywhere. I work from home, obviously.
Well, you're in Florida, which is the Wild West in terms of document fees. So if you're going to
That is true.
downsize, don't buy another car because I think the average doc fee in Florida is like $1,200 and they give you no legal protections there.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I know just to switch my license, it's like 600 or to switch, yeah, my license plates, it's $600 out here.
Hmm.
Yikes. Okay, well enjoy Atlanta
Oh, definitely, I will.
and
If
enjoy
you're
your dinner too.
ever out in this way, I'll give you some good places to eat. We got awesome food.
Definitely. Definitely. I'll just have to make a 10-hour drive up north.
Well, I mean, it will be a eventful drive, so do it at the middle of the night if you have
Will do. You have a great night, Skylar.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Bye.